Thank you for coming. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you Matt Douglas. He is one of our board members. Matt, if you will lead us in the pledge and a prayer. Chelco's red, we know Chelco.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight in this time, in this place, Lord, to gather and to discuss the business of our community. Father, help everything we do here tonight be done decently and in order, that you might gain a greater glory. For it's in Jesus' name that we do pray. Amen.
Amen. So, you two want to draw stars, or you want to let the lady go first? Notice how I put that.
Thank you, Sarah and the DBPA members for having us tonight and for put this informative forum in place so that the voters can decide. So I'm A.V. Haviland. I'm a small business owner. I'm a certified public accountant. I'm a certified fraud examiner, nationwide. I've worked in government for more than 20 years in South Florida. My husband and I actually moved here in 2018 after Hurricane Irma. That was our 14th hurricane, and I had my mom who was very, very ill and on her deathbed, and I hadn't been home in more than 20 years. So that's kind of what brought us to this area. But I'm very passionate about our community. I want to see it succeed. It's got some great opportunities to grow here in the near future, and I've stepped up to the plate so that I could offer my skill set as a certified public accountant and a fraud examiner to help them with the financial crisis that they seem to be in now and have, struggled to be in for the past 10 years. So I'm going to leave it up to the voters to decide, but I'm here offering my skill set to the public for this role, and I hope that you'll choose me, Amy Haviland, for City Council seat number 3.
Matt, before you get started, folks, if you've got a cell phone, please put it on vibrate or mute or turn it off completely. Thank you.
For those of y'all that don't know me, I'm Matt Carpenter. I was born just down the street on Circle Drive at Lakeside Hospital. I grew up here. I went to Walton High School. I was the president and senior of the student council when I was a senior. Went to Pensacola Junior College, now Pensacola State, on a track scholarship, and later went to the University of Florida and got my degree in political science. My first job out of college was actually at the city of DeFuniak Springs as a grant writer. It wasn't the job that I expected to get, but I came to an interview and not expecting I was going to ever live in DeFuniak Springs after growing up here my entire life. I screwed up and got the job. But it turned out to be the best thing that's ever happened to me. I have had the opportunity at 23 years old to make a significant difference in our county by getting other people's money for the benefit of the city of DeFuniak Springs. We developed the industrial park, now known as the Robert Kilby Industrial Park, where Professional Products is. They were going to leave and move to Texas and take all of the jobs as our largest employer at the time. We successfully got them some financing, a new location, so they could build a new building and keep that business here, and it's still here. We developed the block plan out at the airport with other grant funds. In addition to expanding the airport at that time, that business has expanded and is still producing jobs. After I've been here for about 2.5 years, I got cherry-picked by a large affordable housing developer and spent the next 25 years of my life somewhere else developing, managing large-scale affordable housing from St. Louis to St. Croix. I've got 2 kids. I'm married. I decided in 2006 to move back to DeFuniak Springs because I grew up in Mayberry, USA, the greatest place in the world. And moving away is one of those ways you find out just how great this place is. I was able to come back. I've been working at the Walton County Planning Department for the last 16 years. I'm an accredited member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I'm a planning director for Walton County. I have a unique skill set. I've been known as a problem solver all my life. One of my skill sets is to bring people together and get them to work together. And I want to bring that unique set of skills back to the city of DeFuniak Springs. I'm not here for money. In fact, I'm likely to make a motion to reduce city council salaries to $1. I have done it before. Thank you.
Honey, you're going to have, the ladies in the back row can't hear you. I know you have a soft voice, but
I'll try to speak
yeah,
up.
they couldn't get us. You know, they don't have, which is a project, Mike. They don't have a sound system for this room, and we can't afford that room, so you're going to have to project your voice. If you, well, especially if you stood up. Then I tell you what, Kathy, turn the air conditioner down. Maybe it'll cut off and they can hear you better. Does anybody know how to do that? I don't know if it's a code or something. Go ahead.
All right, we'll be asking a series of questions for the panel. Carla's going to start out, and I'll turn it over to Carla.
Okay, I guess what we're going to do is let both of you answer the question. So Ron will have the timer going over there. So I guess I'll start with Amy.
Can you hear her, ma'am? I want to make sure. The lady with white hair, can you hear her?
Stop a little bit. Okay. A lot of ambient noise.
There's some seats up here, y'all. There's some seats up front if you'd like
That's all
to.
right. It's just that people seem to not be projecting very much.
Okay.
Okay, Amy, in your opinion, what is the effect of inflation on the local economy in DeFuniak Springs?
Well, you know, you go to the grocery store and you can certainly see the effects of inflation. You know, the grocery costs, the fuel costs, it's certainly here. You know, I get calls from folks that are struggling because they can't even pay their water and sewer bills because of what's happening. And, you know, it's very disheartening to hear all the struggles. And my clients, when they come, you can see the inflation costs and what it's doing to them and to their household budgets and to their ability to spend their discretionary dollars. So it's here.
Okay, Matt, in your opinion, what is the effect of the inflation on the local economy here in DeFuniak Springs?
Well, certainly Amy hit it right on the head. No matter what store we go to, we're paying more money. And we might be getting a smaller package at the same time. Gas prices, the cost of commuting to work, a larger number of folks in North County and DeFuniak work in south of Freeport, somewhere. And they spend a lot of their money commuting back and forth. And certainly inflation keeps gas prices rising. The cost of food, the cost of going to work keeps increasing. And that's something that all of us have seen. And some of us more than others struggle with the increase in those things that are basic kinds of things. Food, medicine, gasoline. But it's a big problem.
Okay. Question number 2. Speaking of that effect of inflation and understanding the effect this has on those residents who lived on a fixed income, and given the large percentage of retirees in DeFuniak Springs, do you approve or disapprove of consistently raising utility taxes each year?
It's Mac's turn.
It's Mike's turn.
Oh, I'd be happy to take that.
Okay, Mike.
Because that way you aren't answering the
Yes,
question
okay,
first.
go ahead, Mike.
Do I approve of consistently raising taxes? You mean automatically raising them by a certain percentage related to the CPI every year? Every utility system has some kind of escalation in their rates. With the rate of inflation that we're experiencing today being significantly greater than anything we've experienced in the last 25 years, those escalations absolutely affect folks every month. I know I get my bill and it's much higher than I think it needs to be, and I do my best to make sure I only use what I need to use, but escalating utility rates are absolutely a problem, and the cost of water and sewer in DeFuniak Springs is higher than most every other utility in Northwest Florida, and there are a number of reasons for that. Age of our system, the work that we need to do, and the fact that our customer base is so small. We need to be aggressively managing these utilities as businesses. They are enterprise funds, and they need to be making money. There's a limitation on how much money they can make, but they should be producing money because historically that has been a source of revenue for the city of DeFuniak Springs, not just property taxes. This city cannot survive on property taxes alone. We don't have the tax base yet for that. We have to supplement that with revenue from these revenue-generating utilities.
Miss Amy, same question. Considering the effect of inflation, it says, understanding this effect this has on those residents who live on a fixed income, and given the large percentage of retirees in DeFuniak Springs, do you approve or disapprove of consistently raising utility rates every year?
It's a concern, and the age of our infrastructure has a large, the large reason why some of these things are going. I think we're at the highest rates that we can possibly charge. I think we need to start thinking about our infrastructure and what we're going to do, and is there other alternatives besides billings to our customer? Are there private partnerships out there that we can, our infrastructure, we need to have a new transfer station. We need to work and have these issues resolved. That's one of the two main reasons why I did this. For those elderly that are on a fixed income, we need to do something for them, I believe, so that they can afford their utility bills when they come. No, I don't believe we can just continuously increase year after year after year, especially for those who are on that fixed income. We've got to think outside of the box to resolve this issue. The infrastructure has to be repaired. Some of the stuff has to be replaced, and we got to start thinking outside of the box to figure out how we're going to achieve that. Right now, we're using the profits that the utility systems are making to fund our general fund, and so we just need to look at it and overhaul everything in reference to our utility systems and our finances in the city if we're going to be prosperous in the future.
All right, Amy, we're going to start with you this time.
Okay. All right.
Developers and realtors always favor more growth and more development. What would you say to any local residents who are concerned that the charming small town atmosphere of DeFuniak Springs is in jeopardy and on a path leading to overdevelopment, greater traffic congestion, and higher crime like other cities near us?
You know what? I love this little city. I grew up in one very similar to it. I'm concerned with development. I think we need to do responsible growth. Growth is going to come to DeFuniak Springs, but we need to be smart and we need to be responsible about our development. And the one thing that we need to address is our sewer and water system. How are we going to hook up to the new growth that's potentially could come here when we can't even have the capacity to do what we've got right now? We can't fix what we have right now. I'm concerned. I know that the city is in an agreement, a consent decree situation with the Florida Department of EPA for our sewage leaking into our water beds, and we need to address these things. So what I would say is, I think development's coming. I think that we need to do it in a responsible manner, but before we can do anything, we need to fix our underlying problem, which is finances. We don't have timely, reliable, accurate finances to know where we stand, to know where we can put this towards our growth. But I'm for growth, I'm for the development, but we have to be responsible about it, and we have to have timely financials in order to do that. We've got to know where the money is. I don't know any business or any government that can make such decisions without knowing where do we stand financially, how much do we have to put towards this concern that our residents have, and you know, we need to address it. They're paying a lot of money on their property taxes and their water and sewer bills, so we've got to figure this out.
Okay, Mac, same question. Developers and realtors always favor more growth and more development. What would you say to local residents who are concerned about that the charming small-town atmosphere of DeFuniak Springs is in jeopardy and on a path leading to overdevelopment, greater traffic congestion, and higher crime like other cities in our area?
If we're not careful, that's exactly what's going to happen. But I grew up in this small town, and I love the smallness of this town. I mean, that is part of our unique character. I mean, be anywhere in 5 minutes, well, maybe 10 minutes these days. But that's part of the great thing about this place. What we have, developers spend millions of dollars trying to create what we already have. Crestview doesn't have it, Bonifay, Chipley, the rest of the towns on Highway 90 don't have what we have. This lake, that 60-acre park surrounding it, that is unique. It creates a sense of place that makes people want to be here. I want to be here. I feel differently when I'm here compared to other places. And we need to protect that small town character, that unique charm that we have, this historical significance, the Chautauqua, all of our history that makes this a unique place. Now at the same time, not everybody's into that. But one of the things that we constantly hear is, why don't we have a theater? Why don't we have a bowling alley? Why don't we have this and this and that? Well, you don't get those things until you have enough rooftops. And once we get enough rooftops, those things are absolutely coming. You've seen the development that we've gotten in the last few years. Starbucks. I'm not a big fan of Starbucks, but a lot of people are, and that's something that would not have come here unless enough people start living here. We are now at that point. We've got to manage the growth. We've got to manage it in such a way that we provide some kind of affordable housing. That is one of the most significant problems in our county. People that don't have a place to live can't find a place to live that they can afford. And people are moving here. We can't stop that. We can manage that. We can make sure that our infrastructure is in the best shape it can be in. But our sewer system needs new customers. That's how we spread out the cost of the system, by adding customers. And we have not done that significantly in the last 20 years. And that I see as a priority. We've got a number of developments just outside the city of DeFuniak Springs that the county is making get on the city of DeFuniak Springs public sewer. That will add a significant number of customers. It will help spread out the cost for everybody that's already on public sewer. If we're going to have development needs to pay its own way and pay towards that infrastructure that we need to expand to accommodate that development. But I'm absolutely about keeping the character of our small town and protecting that.
All right, Mac, what is your opinion of diversity, inclusion, and equity policies and sensitivity training programs with regard to local government?
Well, anybody that knows me knows that I'm absolutely about thinking about everybody as the same color. When I used to teach real estate training, one of the things I would say is you need to think about everybody as green. It's the same color as money. And if you aren't thinking about everybody as the same, then you're not making as much money as you could make if you're in business. But we are all absolutely equal. We need to be thinking about that. We need to be making sure that every segment of our community has economic opportunity. that absolutely benefits from the services that we provide as a city, and that's done without regard to race, color, creed, sex, national origin, and the rest of that list of things.
Miss Amy, same question.
Say it again though, Matt.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah.
It was.
What is your opinion of diversity, inclusion, and equity policies and sensitivity training programs with regard to local government?
Well,
We didn't come up with these, Amy, I'm telling you.
yeah, it's a little more complex for what I'm thinking, but look, I treat everybody how I want to be treated. And you know what? I think that's pretty much common sense. And, the government doesn't need to be, we need to train our folks with that so that they have that. I always had the philosophy, do the right thing at the right time, always. So, we should all be treated equal. Everybody should have the opportunity to have the same services provided to them by our government. So.
All right.
All right, then we'll start with Amy again. Based on what you have seen in the last 4 years, has the city been spending its revenues wisely in areas of greatest need, or instead on projects and property acquisitions that reflect its own desires?
Listen, for the past 10 years actually, and this is sad to say because I'm really proud of the city that we live in, and we do have a lot of growth that to come forward, but in the last 4 years I've been disappointed because the financial statements are not being reported timely. We were late last year. It appears we're going to be late this year. The grand jury report that came out in 2018, I believe it was, clearly said, you guys have got to fix these problems if you want to stop what's happening. We don't have timely financial statements. I'll give you an example. I went to, in August of this past year, we were passing the budget for the city, and I went to, every Tuesday there was a workshop for the community members. I went to lend them support. I went there to provide my area of expertise for the city. And actually, we were there for 5 minutes, and there was no one that had the financial knowledge or the financial data or information historically to move forward. So after five or 8 minutes, the chairman had to stop the workshop, and we were all sent home. And that was unacceptable to me. And as a certified public accountant, as wanting to read their financial statements, I recently did a public records request, because we're on track not to file our financial statements in a timely manner. Here's what I was told. I asked for, could you please provide me the financial statements, the bank statements from just the current fiscal year, 2023, October through January. And I was told we don't have any banks, we'll give you the bank statements, but we don't have the bank registers that correspond to those. That's unacceptable to me. So because we don't have the financial statements, I don't know where we stand financially, and it's very frustrating for me, a reader who wants to do that. It's very frustrating for other business owners who rely on me to provide them data for their business opportunities. So unfortunately, it's very difficult to know where they spent the money because we can't get reliable data from the city. I went to all those workshops. We passed a budget for $47 million the city approved, $47,074,000 and some change. 1 month later, the finance department or whoever does the uploads to the public has published a document that says we're $1.5 million shy of the number that we just approved a month earlier. To me, that's not acceptable. The city's already $1.5 million behind the 8 ball, and they don't even recognize it. And that's what's frustrating for me, and that's one of the reasons why I stepped up, is to get those things addressed and get them corrected.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Matt, the same question. Based on what you have seen in the last 4 years, Has the city been spending its revenues wisely in areas of greatest need or instead on projects and property acquisitions that reflect its own desires?
Well, I think Amy makes a very good point. I mean, having accurate financials in a timely manner is how you manage your business, no matter what that business is. And I think that's a serious shortcoming at the City of DeFuniak right now, not having a finance director and not having timely financials. I think that's a huge problem. Do we have some big expenses coming up that we're going to have to figure out how to fund? Absolutely we are. A new wastewater treatment plant. Can't expand the one we have now because it's surrounded by wetlands. That would be the simple fix. It's just located in the wrong place for the last 100 years almost. We need accurate financials to really know where we are. But back to my point earlier, each of these enterprise funds should be generating the kind of revenue. We should be placing funds in reserves that are required by the bond agreements so that we have the necessary funds when it's time to replace various components of those systems. For a number of years, we did not fund that. We did start funding that again when I was last on the City Council. But it was woefully inadequate by that time. Without having periodic rate increases, the utilities get behind. They start running in the red. They can't afford to repair the things that are necessary to be repaired to keep the system moving along at the time they need to be done, so maintenance is deferred. And that absolutely has happened because the revenue was not there. At the same time, we got to make sure that we're not perceived to be gouging our customers, because all of a sudden those customers may move somewhere else and not be our customers anymore. But we need more customers. And that is a serious shortcoming with regard to our utilities. I don't think we're adequately marketing those to increase that user base. And that's how we spread out the cost and keep the cost manageable. But having a finance director in place and having timely financials absolutely is necessary to determine whether or not you're spending the money in the right place. And you need to know whether or not you have the money before you spend it. That is actually the law. A balanced budget is absolutely the law for the City of DeFuniak. Not for the federal government, but it absolutely is for our municipal government. And if we're not sending our financials in a timely manner, then we run the risk of either delay or not getting revenue transfers from the state.
All right, Mike. Next question kind of leads into what you just spoke about. Different areas in the city have different needs. In your opinion, what areas of the city are in greatest need of specific attention, and what exactly are your ideas on how to address them?
Well, with regard to our wastewater treatment system, we're under a consent order to rebuild the effluent line running to the spray field. It's blown out 3 times in recent history and created massive spills. That wasn't our priority, but that's what we're having to spend money on now. The groundwater infiltration into our old, the clay collection system of pipes installed around 1955, right before I was born, so it's pretty dang old. Are creating a tremendous problem. And unfortunately, those are not, the bulk of that is in our higher income areas in town, our higher property tax values around Circle Drive, where we have some of our oldest sewer collection systems. When it rains, our capacity exceeds what we're permitted for because of groundwater, coming into the pipes. We've got to fix that. But because we had a higher priority, I expect we're going to get state grants for that. The DEP is already interested in funding that, except that we've got to fund something else first. But fixing the groundwater infiltration into our sewer system and figuring out how to fund the new wastewater treatment plant at a level that we can all afford are two serious problems that we need to address.
All right, Amy, same question. Different areas in the city have different needs. In your opinion, what areas of the city are in greatest need of specific attention, and what exactly are your ideas on how to address them?
I do it, I say it as an overall. The infrastructure has got to be addressed and fixed. But before we can get down to that, we have to go back to the basics. We have got to get the finances under control. The council, we've got a great group of councilmen with different skill sets except for finance. And that seems to be the biggest problem. I don't know how they can make an informed decision on behalf of the residents without knowing where the money is. And all of these things, it doesn't matter what needs to be addressed infrastructure-wise, if they don't know how much money they have to spend. And that's the biggest problem. And you can't wait until last year, whatever, I forgot what month that they finally put out 2021's financial statements, but one of the biggest comments from the auditors, if you read their financial statement, says prior period adjustment, which means they made over $500,000 worth of errors that they couldn't account for. And so the books and records had to be opened all back up again, and I don't know where that's going to lead to today. So again, my approach to this is offering my skill set from a financial expertise standpoint, because they can not focus spending their money anywhere without knowing how much they have to work with. We've gotten all these grants from the airport, which I think is wonderful. We need to expand our airport. We need to be able to do the growth. We need to have matching dollars, but unfortunately, without that reliable information, they're going to make the wrong decision every single time because they have no idea how much money they have to work with. We're hiring third-party CPA firms. We've now come back last month and said, hey, let's hire this person for, they just retired from the county and they used to be 12 years with the budget, the county's finance director, and then we're throwing more money at giving one of the staff members an interim position for finance. But the problem is, you got to have the work done in finance, and then what they've got to do is have that finance director analyze the data. What does it tell them? What does it say? And then be able to report those results back to the city council so that they can make informed decisions on where they're going to spend the money and how they're going to prioritize the money for the growth that's coming. Infrastructure being the main one they need to really, in my opinion, be concerned with.
Thank you. Okay, Mac, we'll start with you again. Elected officials always like to talk about bringing in more new businesses. However, there's little talk and even less done to boost existing businesses or to alter or enact policies and regulations that help our local businesses flourish. Please describe the specific steps that you would take to benefit the existing businesses in our community.
Well, our existing businesses are the folks that are already here. I'm all about trying to attract new business and bring new jobs to our town, but at the same time, back to my example of professional products, they were going to leave, they were going to take the biggest employer in our city to Texas. It was incumbent upon the city at that time to make sure that didn't happen for the benefit of the city of DeFuniak. I mean, that's absolutely an example of working hard to keep an existing business in our community. And I absolutely think the city of DeFuniak ought to have policies that would promote that and facilitate that. I think a regular forum with our business community, an open dialogue about those kinds of things is absolutely something we can do. But making sure that our water and sewer, our garbage and our gas, and all of those things that we pay for, and by the way, I'm paying extra for garbage now. Thank y'all. But those are things that are basics. They're basic expenses for all of our business, no matter what business we're in, and they absolutely impact whether or not those businesses stay here. Another thing that impacts those businesses is the ability of them to recruit employees, and to recruit employees that can live somewhere near their business, so they can be reliable employees and live somewhere that they can afford. Affordable housing is a tremendous problem in our community. Working towards getting more affordable or attainable housing in our community absolutely will support our business community, because it will help provide the opportunity for people to live in DeFuniak or around DeFuniak and support our existing businesses.
Okay, Amy. Elected officials always like to talk about bringing in more new businesses. However, there's little talk and even less done to boost the existing businesses, or to alter or enact policies and regulations that help our local businesses flourish. Please describe the specific steps that you would take to benefit the existing business community.
Yeah, again, that's, to me, everything in my discussions really boils down to the money. How much money do we have to market ourselves? How much money do we have to spend towards things like that to help our local business owners? But, you know, we've got to get back to the basics of we need to get a hospital, we need to get our infrastructure back in place. We've got to be able to hold the capacity. It'd be nice, you know, to help our local business owners. They need to have a skilled set of pool for their employees, so, you know, to choose from. So we've got to get back down to the basics.
For the folks in the audience, due to time constraints, we may not be able to ask all of these questions, but we do want to get to a couple of the questions that were given to us from y'all. So I'm going to start out, I guess, Mag. Question 8, it says, regarding pay scales, do you believe the current city policies are fair to all, both management and city workers? Or do you believe management salaries are excessive for a city of this size, especially when compared to workers?
Well, I think the city probably recently had a salary study, and if they haven't, they need to have a classification and compensation study to determine whether or not we're paying competitive rates. Do we want the best people we can afford? Absolutely we do. They're spending our tax dollars. And I absolutely want the most skillful person employed at the city of DeFuniak Springs that we can afford. And that doesn't mean paying minimum wage. We ought to be paying competitive wages and attracting qualified employees regardless of the position that they're going to hold. They're spending our tax money. I want them to be well compensated. One of the problems I think that the city of DeFuniak has historically had is the ability to provide benefits that are competitive in the marketplace. The ability to provide benefits that would provide health insurance to families, or help people pay for health insurance for their families. Helps keep families together. Having families makes a stable community. Having employees with families that are well taken care of healthcare wise helps make sure that employee can come to work on a regular basis and be productive there. It also speaks to whether or not the city really cares about its employees. Are we taking care of the folks that work for us? We should be. And I want them to be well compensated, have a robust benefit package, but at the same time I expect high level of performance with some accountability for that performance. But do I want the best people working for us at the city of DeFuniak? Absolutely I do. They're spending our money, so I want to spend in the best possible way.
All right, Ms. Amy. Regarding pay salaries, do you believe the current city policies are fair to all, both management and city workers? Or do you believe management salaries are excessive for a city of this size, especially when compared to workers?
I actually asked for a request for public information. I wasn't given the salaries of what the city salaries are, so I don't know. I asked for it by position number, What I do know is the city finance director was making about $90,000, and so I called around just locally just to see what our other city and county officials were paying in that same type of position. And I went to the school board, I went to the city of Freeport, I went to the county, I went to the clerk of courts, and I just did my own. They all responded with what their salaries are. And on average, it was close to $125,000 would have been a fair price, average, just here in Walton County alone. It shocks me that the prior city administrator was making, I think, also maybe 100-ish. And I know we're now paying, right now, with the interim city manager, we're paying 146 plus benefits. So, you know, I would like for us to be consistently have a pay scale. I don't even know if the city does, but that's one thing I would like to bring to the table. I mean, it should be consistent. We need to pay competitive wages, and it needs to be, you know, an incentive, especially for your staff that are there. You know, it shouldn't be, you know, oh, this one because his family's this person or this, you know, we've got to have a good scale that reflects what it is that the person does for the position that they hold.
Okay, Amy, do you know how to increase revenues without raising rates, fees, or taxes? If so, how and what would you do or recommend to get this accomplished?
One of the ways, I did look at one of the budgets from the prior director, and I got some information and pulled down some stuff, but for businesses, do you know we charge $30 a year for our businesses to own a license and operate within the city limits? Well, you know, perhaps, you know, those types of miscellaneous revenues we could increase. And, you know, especially if we're providing different services for those businesses. To me, that's low. The annual budget that the city's bringing in for that is less than $20,000. And that's if they enforce it, because I have clients that'll come and I'm like, hey, I'm doing your books and records, but I didn't see, I know you operate in the city, why didn't you pay? They never billed me, I never had to, you know. And it's like, how come we don't know that? You know, how come somebody's not on that side of the fence coming looking for their change because they ought to be counting the pennies? So, you know, I would go line by line through all their revenues and I would see. Some of the stuff they're fixed with, you know, it's, you know, the half-cent sales tax, the motor fuel tax. A lot of this stuff is already set in stone, but those miscellaneous type revenue items that they have, I would look at them line by line. And I would make recommendations. Hey, did anybody ever think to make adjustments to this, that, or the other?
Okay, thank you, Amy, for that. Do you know how to increase revenues without raising rates, fees, or taxes? If so, how and what would you recommend to get this accomplished?
Number one, I pledge not to raise taxes. Our tax base is not large enough right now for that to be a significant source of increased revenue. And it provides the opportunity for people to say, I'm not getting any more services, but my bill's going up. I'd like to see that bill go down at some point in time. I don't know if we can make that happen, but I'm not in favor of raising taxes at all because there's just not enough money there, even if we double the tax rate. And that's not practical. How do we raise revenues? We get new customers for our utility system. That doesn't cost any of our existing customers anything. In fact, in the long run, that will help keep their rates much lower than they would otherwise be. And maybe give us the opportunity at some point to reduce the rates just a little bit for those that are very small users of our utilities, and typically those are our elderly and disabled people that need a rate break the most. I would absolutely be in favor of changing the rate structure to benefit that segment of our community. But adding new customers, getting people on public sewer that aren't, that is one of our problems. We only have about 2,500 customers for sewer system. We're looking at a $60 million sewer plant. How are we going to spread that cost out over 2,500 people? We've got to get revenue in the form of grants from other agencies, the state and the federal government. When I first worked at the city of DeFuniak, I did that. In fact, I tripled our city budget by getting money from somewhere else for the kinds of things that we need. And there are a tremendous number of grants out there. There are a lot of those don't require a match locally.
This is a question that y'all been looking forward to, the last one. This question actually comes from the audience, so I'm just going to read the question portion of it. There's a narrative afterward, but I'm just going to read the question. Mike, what is your position regarding the position of a permanent hire for DeFuniak Springs City Administrator?
We need one. We need one that's going to be with us a long time. That has been a position that's sort of been a revolving door, and it is a key leadership position for the city of DeFuniak. That's the person that runs the city, that manages our businesses. The overall business and these individual utilities are separate businesses, all of which come together to benefit us. And having a stable person at that particular job is critical, just like the finance director. Both of those are key positions. And we have not had stability there in either of those for a number of years.
More than 10.
All right, Amy, same question. What is your position regarding the position of permanent hire for DeFuniak Springs City Administrator?
We need one. We need one right away. We need one who's loyal, dedicated, flexible, knows the community preferably, has experience, educated, and we shouldn't wait. I mean, that is, again, 10 years we've known this. The grand jury, the state has told us, hey, look, if you want to solve the majority of your problems, your root cause is the constant turnover of that city administrator and the finance director's position. If you want to be successful, fill those positions with someone that's got the education, the experience, you know. And we continually have that revolving door, even after we got the message. And history continues to repeat itself. Here we are finding ourselves again without a finance director, and we have the only now a temporary interim. And that needs to be resolved. And it needs to be resolved for a permanent solution. I mean, we've got to be wise about who we choose for the next city administrator and who you choose for your finance director.
Well, I believe that's all the questions we have this time, so I'm going to turn it over to Sarah.
All right, each one you have 2 minutes to sum up. Amy started, so Mac will start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Well, like I said earlier, I grew up in a family that had a long history of selfless public service. My grandfather was a longtime city councilman in DeFuniak. My dad was a longtime city councilman. He served as mayor for approximately 9 years. I served for 4 years at the city of DeFuniak Springs. I grew up understanding what selfless public service is. And as I said, I'm not here for the money. In fact, I'm likely to make a motion to reduce the city council salary to $1 because I think it ought to be public service and not a job that you're coming to because you expect a paycheck. The paycheck you get is what you give back to your community. And that's why I'm here. I want to give back to my community. It's not about me. It's about all of us. It's not about those people that might support me if I'm fortunate enough to get elected. It's about those people that didn't vote for me if I'm fortunate enough to get elected, because if I do get elected, I represent everyone. Everyone. And that's the way that I will serve if I'm fortunate enough to get the favor of our voters.
Thank you for hosting this. I really appreciate the time that you've given us, the questions that you've asked. And really, I just want to reiterate, I stepped up to the plate to offer a very specific skill set that I don't think our council currently has. We've got great knowledge on the council, but we need that financial expertise. So I'm asking the voters to consider electing me for Council Seat 3. I really would like to use my skill set to benefit the city and to help guide with budget and policy. And let's get this constant turnover corrected. Let's get somebody in there, let's get some financial statements, let's get them reliable, timely. Let's have somebody that can, guide the city council saying, here's the money that you have left over this month. Here's where we're on track to be at the end of the year, because they have some very significant decisions that we need to make. We've got some really great opportunities to grow. We need to get, yes, grant monies, but with that comes matching funds. Well, do we even have enough money to match the grants that potentially could is somebody out there with knowledge seeking these maybe potential private monies that would be available to help us do the $60 million treatment plant project that has to absolutely be done. So again, thank you, and I ask for your vote. Amy Howland, Seat 3 for City Council.